presenting the e-consenting platform. So I'll be doing a bit of introduction at the start, and then Tushar will do a live demo. The goal of this presentation is just to, of this webinar as a whole, is just to present the module at a bit high level, show you the capabilities of the module, not really get into configuration or administration part of it. There are a lot of things that you can do, and so we'll be kind of showing only the simpler use cases, the happy use cases, and if anyone is interested, we'll be happy to do a more detailed demo specific to your use cases. Tushar, can you mute everyone? And hopefully you're not muted me. No. So yes, so let me get started. So this was developed about a couple of years ago, initially with the Columbia University Medical Center in New York, and since then, few more biobanks are using this module now. The goal of the module, I mean, this module as it is installed on top of Open Specimen. That is, you already have a running Open Specimen where there are protocols and participants, etc. Now you want to do consenting, e-consenting for those participants, where the participants can enter their consents on their own rather than you having to take paper-based consents and then come into Open Specimen and enter their consent data, etc. So therefore you don't really need a separate infrastructure as it is. It's just a plugin that you install on top of Open Specimen. So therefore there's no additional VMs or databases, etc. needed for this. It's a paid plugin, so we'll have separate discussions with anyone who is interested. So getting into the module itself, so the whole goal is to collect consents directly from patients. When you install the standard Open Specimen, it comes with the consent feature, where the only option available is to record the response of individual consents. Whereas with this, you can do a lot more in terms of designing the consent form, designing consent forms in multiple languages, tracking different versions of the consent form, sending emails, sending SMS or text messages, sending reminders, even doing surveys. That is, once you do the consenting, you want the patient to fill in a medical questionnaire or a past medication questionnaire or some kind of health questionnaire, etc. So all those kinds of things can be done as part of this module. And the advantage here is that you are cutting down on the amount of paperwork, amount of manual data entry your clinical coordinators have to do. And when you cut down on these kinds of things, you increase the accuracy of the data. Instead of someone having to do manually copying data from paper or PDFs into Open Specimen. So that's the whole goal. So one option is that patients directly enter the consent. So they get an email with an URL, they click on the URL, open the URL, enter the consents. So that's one option. Whereas the other option is that the patient is sitting in front of the coordinator in the clinic, and even though the coordinator themselves are entering, so they kind of have a tablet or something where they open, and then they can give the tablet to the patient, or they can walk through the consents with the patient and then fill in the data at that time and take a signature of the patient right away from the patient on the tablet itself. So that kind of cuts down on the amount of paperwork that you need to do. And as I said, along with consents, it also allows you to do surveys, which is again, one more feature. You can communicate via email and text messages, where you are, it also does things like if you send an consent form, and if the patient has not filled in the consent within, say, 5 days, it will send a reminder and you can configure things like how many reminders to send, how often to send, and when to stop, and things like that. So who can enter consent data? I kind of covered it just now. That is, one is the clinic staff themselves. That is, the coordinator who is consenting. They can do it directly. So sitting face to face with the patient, or you can send the consents to the patients if you either have their email address, or their recording their phone numbers. uh, Either one of them you can use, or both of them you can use to send them the urls where they can just open it on their phone, tablet, laptop, etc. The other option where I said it's kind of an hybrid model where the patient is sitting in front of you, you open the consent, but then you hand over the tablet to the patient. But here, when you are handing over the tablet to the patient, you don't want to hand it over just like that, because then they can do a back button, go into open specimen, look at other patients' data and things like that, right? So there is a special mode where you can say, like a patient mode, where when you give the tablet to the patient, you switch to the patient mode, so that they won't be able to see anything. It's kind of a locked screen where the only thing that they see is the consenting process. So roughly about feature, there are additional roles for consent collectors, because uh, you could have people who are only in charge of consenting, like registering patients and then consenting. You don't want them to see, say the specimens or the visits, or heliport storage, etc. So you can create a new role which is very limited to just doing consenting process. You can create forms in multiple languages. So the thing here is that, for example, in US, there could be English and Spanish. In Australia, they have Chinese forms. In Europe, it could be, say, Dutch and English, right? So, but it is the same form, and therefore the data that is collected by two languages, behind the scenes, the data set has to be, the fields that are recording the data has to be same. So what I'm trying to say is that the screen might look in different languages, but then the back end, because now when you're doing reporting, you should not be saying, okay, patients who consented in Spanish, I need to go to the Spanish form to generate a report, and then I need to generate a report for English, and then kind of combine, right? So instead, in the back end, the data should be going into the same set of fields, and that is what this feature allows, that you can create multiple languages for every form, but in the back end, all the data would be going into the same set of fields. You can also share consent documents across protocols. You can send consents via SMS or email. You can chain multiple consent documents. For example, when you're consenting a minor, you want the guardian also to fill in a separate consent form. So now, once the minor consent form is submitted, automatically you can take them to the guardian's consent form. Same way, you can chain, say, a consent form and a survey form, so that once the consent is done, they can be automatically taken to a medical history questionnaire. So you can do all these kinds of chaining as part of the survey configuration. You can create multiple versions of the consent, because consent forms are updated. You go to IRB, you get an approval, then you want to add one more question, you again go back to the IRB, and now you want to update your consent form, but then you also want to record per patient which version did they consent on. So there might be patients who consented on 1.1, and then you come up with 1.2. So in the reports, you should be able to see which patient consented on which version, maybe even do the reconsenting of the patients, etc. So all those kinds of things are supported. You can archive, again, the older versions can be archived. With archive, all it does is that it does not allow you to consent new patients using that version, but then the older data remains as it is. You can set expiry date, again, because when you go to IRB, sometimes there is dates, the end date kind of thing for that project. So when you set an expiry date, beyond that date, it will not allow you to use that form for consenting. There are email digests that are generated, which Tushar will show in some time. The consent forms are mobile or tablet friendly because when you send an SMS, the patient gets an URL to the consent form. When they click on it, it opens in the mobile itself. So the mobile, so the consent form can be, the patient can just use the mobile to fill in the consent form, and therefore the user interface is kind of made mobile friendly or tablet friendly. The consent forms can be made very patient friendly. By that, what I mean is that, for example, you can add an intro video at the start of the consenting process, so that you want to explain to the patient what is the study, or what is the intention of collecting this consent, what is going to happen to their specimens. If you want to create a short 5-minute video, or a hyperlink to your website, all those kinds of things you can build in the consent form. Yeah, videos, images. The consents can be exported individually, in PDF files. You can have single page consents versus like multiple pages, because sometimes the consent forms are too big. So you want to create like next, so that it does not say overwhelm the patient with like one huge consent form. Based on the consents, you can define validation rules. For example, you can say that if the patient has not consented, do not allow specimens to be collected. Or if the patient has not consented, do not allow specimens to be distributed. So, whatever is the collection protocol specific rule, validation rules, you can define that as part of this module. Here, the thing is that there could be a combination of rules. The rules can be complicated, because suppose there are 3 or 4 questions in the consent form. So you can say that if it is good enough if 3 of them is yes to collect specimens. It need not be necessary that all 4 of them are patient has consented to all 4. Again, some of these things are all dependent on institution specific or lab specific rules, but then the system allows you to do all these kinds of things. Here is an example of consent in a rule. So you can say that, okay, if these 3 things are yes, then the patient can go ahead and then you allow specimens to be collected. The system allows you to do even patients to sign in the consent form itself, something like this. There are the reporting module allows you to create reports based on the consent data. It's the standard reporting module. You'll see additional forms and additional fields in the reporting module. The advantage here is that you can use all the current features of the reporting module, and also combine it with the specimen, the existing specimen objects and things like that, to create pretty comprehensive reports. For example, you can say things like list of patients based on consent responses, or you can say by versions, because sometimes you want to check how many patients are still not reconsented. For example, if there is a new version and you want to see how many patients
Shri, it seems like we lost you. Hello? Okay, so I will see you there.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly general problem.
Okay.
None of us are hearing you now, Sri.
Sure. So I will continue with this one. So basically, as she mentioned, that you can create the comprehensive report, like patient who turns 18. So so in next 90 days. So it will be kind of, you can set up as a monthly reminder. So it will give you the report, and you contact those person, and you send them the consent documents or the questionnaire that a participant has to be filled. So apart from that, let me yeah, so that and so one more item within that is it's 100% audit trail. Let me actually share my screen so it will be okay. Yeah, so it's 100% audit trail and it supports the e-signature. So if you update any consent responses or signature update, etc., so those all can be audited and exported from the open specimen. So it's 100% audit trail. So now moving to the actual live demo, and within that live demo, I will first start with comparing the uh, open specimen with installation of the consent module versus without a consent module. So most of you must have aware about the open specimen without the consent module. So this is one of our demo server where there is no consent module. So you must have aware that when you click on consent, you can add the consent here and you only capture the responses for those. Okay. Whereas in the eConsent module install, when you go to the consents, you can see the different UI and you can see the list of documents or list of consent documents added to this one. And you can see the validation and digest information. So I will not go to that settings now. So here you can see the list of consent document that is also again on the different languages. So if I open the English one and I will open the Spanish, so you can see how it design and you can actually see in the next page. So this is multi pages form and you can navigate like this. And this is the Spanish form and you can see everything is in the Spanish. Okay, and even you can rename your buttons into the Spanish. If you notice over here in the English buttons are next, previous versus Spanish button in the Spanish text. Okay. So now, so the next I will show you how to do the data entry for this list of consent document with different languages. Okay, so I will open the participant and this is the participant list page where you click on add participant button and register the participant. So first I will demo you the staff data entry process and then I will show you how participant can fill the consent document or questionnaire when we send email to them. Okay. So I'm registering the participant with what are the details that I want. So I registered the participant with some my.
I'm sorry, looks like I got disconnected. But anyway, I'd reached the end of my PPT. So Tushar, you can start the live demo. Tushar?
Have we lost Tushar now?
Oh, I was trying to figure that out. I thought no one could hear me, so I logged in back. Oh, so let me just check. Just give me 1 second. He's joining back. He didn't know he got disconnected, so he's doing his demo all the while. So I so I called him to tell him he's disconnected. So he's joining the call.
Sorry guys, I disconnected it. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, are you able to see my screen, Shri?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how much I talked about, but let me start from the scratch. So I was showing you the difference on the without installation of the eConsent module versus with installation of the eConsent module. So this is our demo site, and I will show you one of the study. So this is a study where there is no consent module installed. So you can see, and many of you must have aware about the consent tire, where you add the consent tires and you only collect the responses in yes, no, withdrawal, etc. Okay. Whereas when you install the open eConsent module, and this is my collection protocol overview page, and this is the consent tab. So you can see something like this, where you can see the list of documents listed over here, and you can see English document, Spanish, and assent document for the minors. And if you open, in a second, let me close the other documents that I have earlier opened. Okay, so I will open English and Spanish just to show you how it looks. So this is all design part where you design page-wise documentation where you can or participant or the user can go next and fill the consent information. Whereas this is the Spanish document where you can see everything is in Spanish, even the buttons is in Spanish. Okay, whereas if you notice over here in the English form, you can see the button is in English. Okay, so I will show you the data entry for English form and Spanish form with two different modes. Actually mentioned that either participant or sorry, clinical staff can hand over the tablet to the participant. So participant only can see the consent information, and apart from that, he won't be able to see any open specimen information like other participant information, specimen, etc. So I will show both the modes. So to do that, let's register the new participant with some minimal information. And I will add date of birth. Okay, and I select the language. So I'd say English language and say add participant. Okay, so now participant is registered. Now you wanted to collect the consents. So click on consent tab. So as I mentioned, you had two modes, which is, so let's select the consent document which you wanted to consent it for. So we have all the list of documents which are added to that collection protocol. So you can see all the list of documents over here. Since that is the adult participant, so I'm collecting the participant consent English. So when I click on it, it shows two modes, as a sign-in user and as a participant. So when clinical staff entering the data for participant, use the sign-in mode, and when you are actually handing over the tablet, use as a participant mode. So that particular participant won't be able to navigate to anywhere apart from that, the form that you are filling out. So I will show you the first mode first. As a sign-in user, when you proceed, it navigates to the actual consent document that you have designed. And all this part is configurable welcome message. Okay, now you are starting, beginning with your consent documents. So I say, do you want to receive the future communication via text messages? I would say yes and say next. And now you can see over here, you can see the list of pages like this, and you have option to navigate by, one by one by using the next and previous button. So I will go next, and fill the consent information. So these are the list of fields that is added for that consent document. So I say yes, and participant name, something like this. I will sign. Since the adult don't have to enter the parent information or sign, so I'll say save it. So once I save it, you can print that document or you can go back to the open specimen. Okay. So as I mentioned, we just logged in as a signing user or filling out the form as a staff member. So when you click on sign in, it won't ask for the login details again. It automatically go back to that same participant that you are entering the consent document for. Okay. So now the consent document is filled and you can see that document over here. And when you click on it, it opens the document and you can see all the field information like this, right? So the signature, name, etc., etc. So this is the first mode, which is as a sign-in user mode where clinical staff entering the data for participant. So I will show the second mode for the same patient. So let's show you that, but I will show you for different language. Okay, so or let me just add a new participant with Spanish. Sure. Okay. And date of birth. This is also adult. Let's say Spanish. Add participant. So since this is Spanish participant, I would like to collect the Spanish consent. So I go back to the consent and again survey mode. I choose the Spanish consent over here. And now I will show you the second mode, which is participant mode, where clinical staff member handing over the participant tablet to the participant for their consenting. So when you click on proceed, it's the same process. It shows the now Spanish document. When you say next, 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 and you fill the consent document here, add a signature and save it. Again, even you can print the Spanish document as well. So all consent document can be printed after filling out it. So I will not print. And now as a participant, since I hand over the tablet to the participant, when I click on sign in button, it will ask me to add the login details. Okay, so that participant won't be able to navigate anywhere without the login details. So this is about two modes. So now I will show you how you send the survey or consent document to the participant. Okay, that is all configurable and you can send the auto invites. Now I'm registering the participant, which is minor participant. So when that participant is minor, I wanted to send, let me open the list of consent that I have added to that collection protocol. So I will okay. Since now I'm registering the minor, so either if it is in the age between 7-12 or 13-17, so one of this document should be sent and one adult document should be sent to sign for their parent. Okay. So now I'm registering the minor. And I will fill this consent document from the email as a participant. So I added my email address, which is mandatory, and I say receive email. I will add info and so it should be in some, let's say 15. It's a minor. I will select the language as English and say I add participant. Okay. So once I click on add participant, now the email is already sent to that participant over this email address. So I will go to the email address and here. Let me refresh this email. Yeah, so now you can see here, I receive the accent form as a participant since I am logged in as a participant over here in my email address. So you can see the links. Okay, so I click on that link and you can, so this email has this many information and that is all configurable. You can add your email content, email subject, even you can add the logo, etc. That is all configurable. And now I receive the links. So you can click on that link. And it will open the accent form. And it's the same process. So you go next, and fill the accent form. So once you're done with the minor accent form information, open specimen will automatically go to the next form, which is for the parent or guardian. So when you say save it, so now you can see either you print the accent form that you just filled, or you have the option to go to the next form, which is the adult form or the parenting form, where you can see the different title of the consent document, and you can begin with that, and it's the same consent document with some additional information, and you can navigate like this, or you can directly navigate the pages like this. So I will add the mandatory information. Okay, so this is minor patient signature, and now I have the parent or legally authorized name of the parent. I will add John and John's signature. And I save it. So once I save it, so this is the participant email where I received this email with the link. I filled all the document. So as a participant, I can't see anything apart from the field consent form. I can print it only. But if I try to log in or sign in, as I already mentioned, it asks you for the login details. So we'll go back to the open specimen with this patient. So this is the patient that we have just done the data entry for. The participant actually done the data entry. So when you go to the consents, you can find two consent added to that participant, right? So the parent consent and the accent consent. And if you notice that the parenting consent automatically comes after filling out the accent consent. So that is nothing but the chaining. So you can chain multiple forms, even the questionnaire along with the consent documents. Okay, so even you can add, let's say, family history. So first participant will fill the accent form, then participant, and then family history form. So let me go back to so chaining I already explained. Questionnaire. So I will show you the questionnaire. So it's the same process. I will show you how to send the questionnaire to the participants. So you register the participant with details, and the questionnaire will be automatically sent to the participant. So basically that is all configurable. So now I'm entering some information. I entered the 18 plus participant, and I select the language. Okay, so you can add multiple fields where, if that is true or something like that. For example, if you have male gender or female gender, based on that you have different questionnaires. So you can add the validation, and the questionnaire will be automatically sent based on your rules. Okay, so now the only rule that I have added for that questionnaire, the family history questionnaire, is the participant should be adult, which is 18 plus. So I added the date of birth and English. So when I click on add participant, so my participant is created, and this is my ID, the PPID. So I will go to my email as a participant email, and I should have received one more email over here with the so here. So you can see I received the family history questionnaire, and when you click on it, it will go to the questionnaire directly. Okay, so you can see the welcome page, begin, and this is a questionnaire that we have added. So you filled it, number of total relative to brothers, and save it. So I save it, and you can, so as I mentioned, you can change. So now I fill the family history, and you can navigate to the next English participant consent. So you can do the chaining based on your conditions. Okay. So now we just filled out the questionnaire. So let's go back to the participant and check. So I go to the forms, and you can see the family history now added by the participant. And when you click on it, all the responses are recorded for those participants. So as she mentioned that even the specimen collection can be restricted based on if the participant is consented or not. Okay. So now if you see over here, these are the list of pending visits, and there is no collect button visible over here because this participant is not consented, or it is not satisfying the rule that you have specified. Okay, so this is my collection protocol, and I have the validation rule. It means that it should be declined to participant, should be no. So it should be yes. So I will go back here and I will consent this participant. Okay. And once I consented, that collect button will be automatically appears. My result, and add data entry and save it. Since I consented that participant, and you can see the change now. Here. So let me go back to the participant overview page. Earlier, there was no collect button. Now you can see the collect button, and you can collect the specimens over here from here. It's the same process now. Okay. Okay. So now I will show you how versioning works in eConsent. So as Sri mentioned that the same consent document can be used across the collection protocol. To upload the consent document, you have to go to the consent tabs, consent documents, and you can see all the consent document uploaded over here. And I will open, so you can see the add revision options. Okay, so when we add the revision, so for example, let's say you use your revision 1.0, and after a few months, by IRB rule, you added a new consent statement, and you wanted to capture that. So you're not actually deleting this, so you're actually adding one more revision to this same consent document. So you have the option to add revision, select the title and just add the revision and expire it and upload the document. So this is how you add the revision, and you can actually create the report based on the revision as well. So you can get give me all the participant consented for assent for revision 1 versus revision 1.1. So the next atom that I want you to show is messaging activities. Okay. So now if you just notice that we send the email directly to the participant, those all activities now capturing within the open specimen for that participant. So I will open any participant from here, and I will show you how those all activities capture. Okay. So now this is the participant, and you can see there are a few consent document might be collected, and this is the messaging. Okay. So in the messaging tab, you can see all the conversation, or what we can say, the email has been sent, the consent document has been sent via email, via SMS. You can send the newsletter as well. So these all things will be recorded over here. You can send a separate email to that participant. You can send a separate SMS to that participant if they are opted in for SMS or email. Yeah. So I will show you the survey settings, which is where you actually configure what email content should be and other details like reminder details. So I will open the existing one. Okay, so this is the title, and you can add the welcome message. If you notice that when I was entering the information for the consent document, you can see there was a welcome message. So this was the welcome message. So you can add any welcome message. You can add links or PDF, video, as Sri mentioned. You can say completion message as well. Logo URL, if you wanted to show the logo within that email, your university logo, so you can add the logo URL. Display name of the email, you can add the email address from where those emails should be sent, and subject of the email. So subject of the email can be changed based on what type of consent that you are sending. And the important part here is the content of the email. So you can add whatever content you want, and you can add the participant name and other information. You can include the other information too, and survey link, etc. Okay, so now going back to the invites and reminder setting. Okay, so chaining. So as I mentioned that you can fill uh, one consent document after another consent document, or even you can chain questionnaire as well. So this is the setting. So you can enable, disable chaining, and here you can specify the rule. If it is English, then send the automatic invite to that participant when you automatically register the participant. Reminder and expiry. Okay, here when you send any survey to that participant and that participant is not responded or not open any email, so you have this setting to actually remind the participant, and it will be automatically sent by the open specimen. So you can have these settings. You can send every Sunday, every Monday, or number of X days. So here the simple settings that I have done is send reminder every 2 days at 10:30. The reminder should be the reminder limit should be 3, so there will be 3 reminders sent, and the invitation age is 7 days. It's not like when you send the survey link, that survey link will be active for 7 days, and once that duration gone, so it will be automatically expired. So even participant can be sign those consents, so you have to resend the consent document again. During the demo, I show you the different button text for English versus Spanish. So here you can add the button text over here. Now I will show you when you add those reminder settings, where do you see those reminders? How many reminders left, if that participant responded, if that survey complete or not. So that is visible in the participant. So this is the participant list page, more button, and survey invitations. Okay. So within that survey invitation, you can track everything, like what is the participant details, what survey sent to the participant, who filled it, creation time, completion time, and you can see the status over here. So even you can capture the status even when the participant only opens the email. Okay, you can see different status over here. Email open, complete, pending. It means that participant does not even open the email. So you can see and even filter out based on the status. And here is the mode option. Okay, and you can see mode, the survey sent by the email. And if you scroll down a bit, you can find send by email and SMS as well. These all things will be captured and recorded over here. Now, as a reminder, when you click on view reminders, it shows how many reminders are pending, how many reminders are completed, something like this will show you over here. Mailed open, how many, there are 3 reminders, but no reminders sent. So those all things can be recorded, and you can have the filters over here to filter and resend the reminders, etc. And you can include all this stuff in your reporting. Okay, so you can create a report saying, give me all the participant with let's say next reminder in these days or something like that. So you can create the powerful report based on that. Now we'll go back to the digest. Okay, so first, what is the digest? Okay, so in specimen you can configure the digest information and include the email address of the consent collector or the PI of that collection protocol. So they will daily get the email from the open specimen for that particular collection protocol, and they receive this information. So this is information or digest email contains the patient ID, what consent documents that for that participant consented for, who updated, who created this information. So this is the daily digest, and it will, so you can configure the date and time for that. We'll go Yeah, reporting. So I will show you one simple report over here, which I have created just to show you the versioning and how it looks. So these are the some details, patient ID, email address, and you're already aware about including the additional fields. But I will show you. So now these are the list of documents that is consented for this particular participant, and you can see the document version. What are the different consent statement, and what are the responses for those consent statement. So this kind of stuff that you can include, and as I mentioned earlier as well, even the survey is also possible to include. Let me, you can see consent document title, code, responses. Let me open the survey invitation. So you can see survey, search by survey, created by expiry date, what is the survey status. So you can create the comprehensive report based on all the items over here. Okay, so now let's do the questions. Does anyone have any questions in the chat?
I have a quick question, Shri. So
Sure.
what happened when the participant or coordinator declined the consent? What happened to the participant record in that case?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. So you're saying once participant consented, what happened after that?
I'm talking about like when participant declined the consent. So in that feature you showed earlier, there's that collection option display when the participant consent. So what happened when the participant declined?
So that collect button will not be visible.
Okay.
So there will be no specimen collection happen.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And
but whether whether the collect button would be disabled or not is based on the validations you define. So it's up to you to decide what should happen when the patient declines the consent.
Okay. And then I assume the format to print the consent is in PDF, correct? That print option that you showed earlier?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question. Does the form actually support partial consents, or is it an all or nothing? Situation is that, on our consent forms, we might have multiple statements, and there might be specific parts of the consent that the patient doesn't want to agree to. They might, for instance, agree to collection of samples, but they might not want it used in studies beyond the one that you're actually collecting for. That kind of thing, that kind of situation.
Yeah, you can again, each consent response has an yes or no answer. So they can say no to the ones that they don't respond. And now, based on the validation rules, for the ones that they said no, you need to, if you define rules against that, saying that if there are questions which are, if they decline, you cannot collect specimens for them. So if there are such questions, then you can define such validation rules. Again, the whole thing is configured per protocol, per form, and you need to decide what needs to happen. For example, if some of the questions are mandatory, or things like if it is a child, then the parent's name is mandatory. So things like that you can design in the form. So all those things are configurable based on how you get your IRB form approved. You can replicate the exact same thing in the form.
Yeah, I obviously missed the bit where you went through that then. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
So based off of the approved IRB consent forms, are they just uploaded and the system's able to stratify it into those pages where you have the next, or is that something that the staff need to then build?
No, it's built. So we're not covering the configuration part in this demo, but that needs to be configured based on your requirements. So that's the administration part has to be done. How you design the form is done in HTML and things like that. So that needs to be done at the start. It's a one-time thing that you do at the start.
And then in terms of the additional languages, is the system making translations?
No, you need to give the language. Again, the assumption there is that you have an IRB approved Spanish form that needs to be replicated as it is. I mean, you can't let the system do the translation for you.
That's what I was just confirming. Yes.
Yeah.
Thing with how, where's the certificates of translation, but yes. And then the only other item would be, is this considered 21 CFR compliant in terms of the requests for signatures?
That's a whole different beast. So the way in terms of 24 in a CFR compliance, what we can provide is documentation, because these kinds of compliance is not just for the software, it's for a specific implementation at a specific site, and it also includes a lot more than the software itself, in terms of how you run your lab and your processes and things like that. But from the software point of view, we can help you do the validation based on whichever, like many of our customers do CAP validation, so CAP validation. So depending on that, we can work with you to do that validation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other question?
Okay. Thank you very much. In case anyone wants to do a more detailed evaluation in terms of actually setting up your consent forms that you use in your lab, you are welcome